Cantrell, are you ready?
Yes!
Red Club audience, are you ready? Yeah! Sarah Cantrell with fantasy in 3, 2, 1, begin.
A news story. After having been kept the dark-headed stepchild of England since about the time that Owain Tudor romanced the lonely French widow of Henry V, Wales has a new agenda. The Welsh are opting to reinstate their sovereignty, and as such, they've begun the search for a sovereign. The crux of the search is to find the adult, without regard to sex, who remains childless, and who is most directly descended from he whom the Welsh consider their last sovereign, Owen Glendower. Welsh historians, genealogists, and geneticists began scouring the world and found something not entirely unique when studying old country lineages. The most direct descendants of Glendower do not live in Wales anymore. The American descendants of Welsh immigrants can claim a more direct genetic and familial link to the Wales' ancient royal lines, more so than their current Welsh cousins. And of all places, Wilkesboro, Pennsylvania, an entire culture of Welsh Americans has cloistered and thrived for nearly 200 years. As genealogists sifted through American birth and death documents, a link between Glendower and another Welsh surname began to emerge, that of Thomas. And one man's family arose as the most direct descendants, that of one David Thomas Jr., my grandfather. Pop-Up's descendants were sorted and scrutinized until it became clear that only 2 candidates remained, adult and childless, my brother and myself. As the elder, I was approached first, and in 6 weeks, I will leave for Cardiff, where I will receive instruction in Welsh history, language, customs, religion, the arts. I will be groomed in manners, both personal etiquette and international protocols. I will meet every conceivable Welsh minister, cabinet head, member of the constabulary to hear what is expected of me. And on January 30th, 2012, I will be crowned Cerys Regina, Crown Princess of Wales. The next morning, I will have an audience with the Queen of England. The morning after that, I will begin my good works, which will be my job for life. That and producing an heir. It is a terrifying and thrilling prospect, and it is one of the little fantasies that keeps me afloat when my just barely more than working class stiff life begins to feel like a cage. Instead, I dream of a gilded cage. Now, I hear you, I do. Get real. But this overwrought, precious, perhaps too detailed for public confession daydream speaks to the necessity, even the preferability of fantasy. In the glare of reality, we transport ourselves into edited for television romantic comedies and Wild West shoot-'em-ups on the Xbox. We vanish into dreams of sugar beaches and cheap light beers and our fantastical beloved beside us, of winning the World Series and Dancing with the Stars, perhaps in the same week. And it's not just the bright and happy fantasies that we so relish. Alongside them, we harbor dark fantasies of such sweetness and decay that often we think we're the only ones to have them, of closing one's hands over the lovely white neck of the girl whose very loveliness invites it, of peppering his pork chops with ground apple seeds merely to watch him sputter and vomit and cry out, why, because you bother me. This fantasy world in which paunchy 40-somethings attract high school cheerleaders, and one can burn her very life to the ground with her children and the dog still inside. A dank, deeply personal place in which to explore that self that we would never truly wish to reveal in our daily lives. So why do we insist again and again on this disappearance, this entrance into the ephemera of angry, violence-tinged sex and our own coronations as honest-to-goodness princesses? It's not because reality is so filled with horror. No, we do not fantasize to outrun the terribleness of the real world. We fantasize in hopes of momentarily outrunning the pallor of the real world, because reality is not terrible in its terror, but rather in its blandness, its gray beigeness, in its swift, too-filled months and the long, empty days that comprise them, in its commutes and its bill-paying, its dishwashing and toothbrushing, shoelacing and dog-walking, chicken baking, trash curbing, making the bed, oh God, why bother, because we're just gonna mess it up tonight, horror, and if we really look into the gaping, roaring hellmouth of it and tried to live there for more than the few minutes it takes to check the pantry against the grocery list, we know that our fantasies would come spilling forth from us horribly into the realities of those around us, both good and ill. Our loved ones would mourn the loss of us as we disappear further and further into the sunshiny fantasy of being a hero space pirate or a cast member on Glee. And worse, of course, the havoc and tragedy we would wreak upon anyone with the misfortune to be near us in reality, if those pedophiliac, dark, blood-soaked fantasies came spilling out from us as our tender minds implode under the weight of reality. So before you go admonishing anyone, including yourself, to get real, do us all a favor. Pay that bill, and then slip softly into the arms of Adriana Lima, who is really, really interested in hearing about your latest rank on Halo. Really. Thank you.